Yes. Now
So,
we'll
yeah.
start. Thank you.
So, shall we begin?
Yes, please.
Okay, so welcome to the third lecture in the mini course on exceptional groups. Till now, what we discussed was how to classify using cohomological language forms of algebraic groups, and I introduced the notion of composition algebras in the last lecture, where we also gave them names. So we will come to that a little later today. Just to begin with, let's quickly go through how one gets split simple groups over a given field. So by split, let's fix a simple group defined over the base field. We call it split over the field if it has a maximal torus, which is K split. So in other words, all the characters of the torus are defined over K. So then we call the group K split. So the way to write down such groups, of course, people must have done some Chevalier group theory. I'm not going to do all that here. Just to quickly go through this. So uh, let's look at the so we know that the root systems are classified. So for simple groups correspond to irreducible root system, irreducible reduced root systems. So we'll start with such a root system which for a type we want to write down, and then we have the uh, so you have the root lattice, and then you also have the so-called weight lattice, which is dual to the lattice of roots, which is all lambda in the ambient vector space, which have this angular bracket with alpha an integer. This angular bracket is what we defined before. It's twice lambda alpha round bracket divided by alpha alpha. So these are the weights, and then we have this inclusion that root lattice is contained in the weight lattice by the very definition, and in fact any lattice in between the two. So all these lattices have same rank, both Q and P. Any lattice in between gives us a split group of the type we started with. So this typically corresponds to the character group of the maximal split torus. So if you look at, let's look at this quotient P by Q, that controls the number of such groups for a given type. So P by Q in various cases is as follows. For AN, it turns out to be the cyclic group of order n plus 1. For types Bn, Cn, and E7, this turns out to be the cyclic group of order 2. For Dn, n even, it is the Klein 4 group. And for n odd Dn, it is cyclic group of order 4. E6, it is a cyclic group of order 3. And then E8, F4, and G2, this group is trivial. So this is something we will come to. So this, as I said, how does this work? So this finite group that I wrote down, P mod Q, that corresponds to the dual center, so to say. So center of the group is an abelian group. You look at its characters, in the sense morphisms from that group to GM. So that is what P mod Q gives us actually for the simply connected group of the type we started with. In other words, let us suppose phi is that root system we started with, and G tilde phi is the corresponding simply connected group, which we construct using the Chevalier construction. Then the adjoint simple group corresponding to the same root system, which if we denote by G bar phi, that is gotten by going modulo the full center of G tilde phi. So this is the adjoint group. And we saw already how to construct adjoint group from the adjoint representation using the root lattice, right? Other K-split groups are obtained from this group by going modulo various subgroups of C5. So that these are this gives you all K-split groups for a given field. So in this, xt mod q corresponds to the center of the group G you get. And the other quotient P, which I have not written down here, P mod xt actually is the fundamental group of that group. So when xt is q, you have P mod q, you get P mod q, and in that becomes trivial, and so G is adjoint formed in that case. When xt is equal to P, you get the simply connected, because as I said, P mod xt is the fundamental group, so that becomes trivial and you get the simply connected group of type phi. So this is roughly the discussion for split groups. So for example, when phi is classical, then these are the simply connected ones: SLN plus 1, spin 2n plus 1 for Bn, SPN for Cn, and spin 2n for Dn, where these notations denote spin groups for quadratic forms of those dimensions of maximal Witt index. So any questions so far?
Sorry, Manish.
Yes.
Your simply connected means you take Zariski topology. I mean.
Oh, yes. Everything in Zariski topology here.
Okay.
No other topology known to me.
Okay.
We are our arbitrary field, so we will just, that is the only topology here. And when you say for simple or semi-simple groups, let's say G1 and G2, we say G1 is a covering of G2 if you have a surjective morphism from G1 to G2. That's all. For semi-simple groups, okay? So that is the notion of covering here. In that sense, you get something simply connected. And as I said, the fundamental group here is P mod xt. That actually corresponds to the usual notion of fundamental group for Lie group. So I don't want to discuss that right now. This is roughly the way one recovers split groups over a given field. So I will assume that we are happy with how to construct split groups from Chevalier constructions. And Chevalier construction, of course, we know uses exponentials and so on cleverly to give us those groups. So starting from a representation of the Lie algebra. So let me now come to the smallest of the algebraic exceptional groups, and tell you how octonions, what role they play here. Okay, so I am not going to go back to the earlier lecture. There I ended with a model for the split octonions. I'm not going to use that. I will use some other version of that in the process today, in the lecture today. But the point of knowing different ways of writing the same algebra helps us write down various subgroups. So that model has its uses. The one we will see here, which will be coming from the doubling, that also gives us certain subgroups. So let's make a beginning here. But before I do that, let me ask if you have any questions. Shripad, please do let me know if chat box has any questions anytime.
Yes, I will.
Yeah. Okay, so let's make a beginning on this. So let's fix any octonion algebra over K, which just means a composition algebra C with the norm quadratic form N of dimension 8. Then remember, composition algebra by definition is a non-associative algebra which contains multiplicative identity and has a non-degenerate quadratic form defined on it, which is multiplicative. That's the definition. And when the dimension is 8, it is called octonian algebra. It has some properties. We will see them slowly as we move on. Let's denote by ordinary G the group of automorphisms of C, abstract group of automorphisms of C. So these are K linear algebra automorphisms. And by G lower bar, I want to denote the full group of automorphisms of CK. CK is C tensor K, where K is K bar. So this is the algebraic group that we have been talking about. This is K rational points of G bar by our definition, right? So this is a group defined over K, and G bar K is G, which is just automorphisms of C over K. And the group is totally determined if I tell you what it does to field extension. So this is what it does. For any extension L of K, G lower bar, the L rational points are automorphisms of C tensor L as L algebras. And remember, the definition of trace was the involution, canonical involution was defined. So if this angular bracket denotes the bilinear form corresponding to this norm quadratic form, the involution was defined as angular bracket xe, which is actually by definition that we will call this as trace, but x bar is defined as this minus x. So that trace x is just x plus x bar, and it's a scalar. Norm of x by definition was x bar. This is also a scalar. Now, here I have said that any automorphism, so phi in G was just automorphisms of C defined over K. Those, if I take any phi there, then it commutes with the involution. The way to see this is not difficult. For example, one quick argument is the following. You look at trace 0 elements. So suppose the trace of x is 0, which means x bar. So this part is the trace, right? So x bar would become minus of x. So if you put it here, then phi of minus of x is, of course, and phi fixes identity elements. So it maps trace 0 elements to trace 0 elements. So it will say phi of minus x is anyway minus of phi x, and phi x also has trace 0, so that is phi x bar. So for trace 0 elements, we have this identity easily. And then any element of C can be written as a scalar plus a trace 0 element. From there, it will follow.
Sorry, why does it take trace 0 to trace 0? Does it preserve the inner product, the norm form?
You are right. So
we assume that it preserves the norm form?
No, that you are right. I wanted to say that it preserves the norm form, and for that I was giving an argument. But anyway, this is not the you are no. So phi fixes identity element. That is correct. So actually, one has to do then slightly longer proof. You have to write down what this means. So this the norm bilinear form, you expand it out and then put x and e and then calculate. So this is just some easy argument. Actually, I was trying to give a quick argument that's wrong. Actually, yeah, you're right. So point is that any automorphism, finally we should prove from here. So this is not difficult to prove. You can prove it using these explicit expressions. I was trying to give a smart one-liner, but it didn't work. Thanks, Shripad. So if phi is an automorphism, then it preserves the norm form because it will use this. Phi of x bar is phi x bar. So you apply phi here and you will see that phi preserves norm. So it is in the orthogonal group of the norm form. So in this, therefore, oh my God. Therefore, yeah.
So for checking that phi of x bar is phi x bar, one has to check inner product x comma e is same as inner product phi x comma e.
Correct. Indeed. And that will follow because phi fixes e, it will follow from this simple equation. I'm just
Okay, okay,
Not
okay,
doing it
correct.
here, you can take a paper and pencil and do it. So if we will anyway take it up in tutorials, if anybody has issues with this, we will do that. But this, more importantly, gives me an embedding of inclusion of G bar inside the orthogonal group of this quadratic form. That's really the takeaway from here. So let's now compute a couple of subgroups for automorphisms of, so for G bar, I want to
What is G bar, Manish?
this G bar is the algebraic group of automorphisms of the octonian algebra. So here, G bar is automorphisms of C tensor K. C is the octonian we fixed.
Okay.
And so that's what L rational points are automorphisms of C tensor L for any field extension. So this argument, whatever it is, one can easily come to this conclusion that G lower bar is a subgroup of the orthogonal group of N. And more, so right now, remember, we don't know any more properties of this. We don't know if this is even connected, but we will prove that one by one. So any questions so far? I've just gone this much. Please slow me down if you feel I'm going too fast. As somebody said, I went a bit too fast in the last lecture. So let's go slowly. So notation just to introduce. Suppose I take a subalgebra of octonian, any subalgebra, just notation. By aught of C comma S, we will denote the algebraic subgroup of automorphism group of C, which leaves S invariant. So it maps S to S or restricts to S. The second subgroup is those which fix elements of S pointwise. So these are just notations, okay? We will try to compute these groups now for spatial subalgebras, which we will need. So our octonian is C fixed for us. And now what we will do is take a quaternion subalgebra. So remember, octonians are obtained by doubling quaternions. So there are plenty of quaternion subalgebras available. So pick one such. So, and there is some associativity property that the bilinear form satisfies, which I have written down here. So I'm not giving a proof of this. So this associativity property is written down here. Some you can, these equations hold. So let's just, we will not going to, it will be used right away here. Using this equation, it can be easily seen that if I pick an element A in D perp, so this is with respect to the norm form, I take the perp of D and take any A outside, A in D perp, which has non-zero norm. Then we can write D perp as D times A. So these equations will tell you why D times A belongs to D perp, and then dimension computation will tell you they're equal. So, you just play with these identities. So this will tell you that dA, what is dA? This is small d times A, where small d runs in D. So this is contained in D perp. This is immediate from here. Yeah, is that okay? So then we know anyway C is D direct sum D perp. And we wish to determine those automorphisms of C which leave D invariant. So let's take one such automorphism. So phi is an automorphism of C and maps D to D. And we already saw that it preserves the norm form. So it is in the orthogonal group of N. Because of that, it will follow that it maps D perp to D perp. Now, we did Skolem-Noether theorem. I mentioned Skolem-Noether theorem, which says that if I have a central simple algebra, then any automorphism of that is given by a conjugation by a fixed element. So that tells me when I restrict phi to this D, it will look like this. Phi of x will be Cx C inverse for all x in D. So that gives me this single.
Looks like Manish has some. Looks like Manish has some problem. We will wait.
I have called him up. He is not picking up the phone. So hopefully, this is something that can be fixed. Hi, Manish, you have to unmute. Manish, please unmute. Manish, we cannot hear you.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have to.
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, let me share the screen. So, sorry, I didn't share. I have to share. Okay, you can see the screen, Shripal?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's go back. I'm sorry about this. Oh no, this is the wrong one. Yeah. So where did I get disconnected?
Phi deeper is deeper. I think that is where we were. Wow, you have covered quite a lot in between.
My God.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So we are not
That was done. Yes.
Okay, so anyway, we are not running a race, so we'll go slowly.
Yeah. Thank you.
I am really sorry. I had no idea. In fact, I was getting disturbed by the phone call and I wanted to just shut up the speaker. And then I saw it was Reaper calling me. Okay, so this is okay. Phi of d perp is d perp because phi is orthogonal and it maps d to d by assumption. So this is fine. And this allows us to conclude because this is the decomposition for C and d perp is just dA. That tells me, first of all, by Skolem-Noether, phi restricted to D will look like conjugation by a single element C in the quaternion algebra. And this part, you can argue, I'm not giving you the argument right here, but you can argue by noticing that phi must take A to again some small d times A, because its d perp is this. So if I take phi of A, that is also in d perp, so it will look like some d times A. And that d must have norm 1. So using that, you will be able to see here, of course, some algebraic jugglery is necessary here, that I can write phi as phi of x plus ya is cxc inverse plus p times cyc inverse, where p is a norm 1 element from D. So this is how automorphisms which stabilize D look like. Okay, so I said additionally, which I got cut thanks to the signal, that this gives us actually an embedding of, so this is a subgroup. This subgroup consists of all such automorphisms. And you see here that this gives us an embedding of.
So Manish, if I take any norm 1 element and
right.
P, is it going to give me automorphism?
Yes. So this is now complete in the sense converse also holds here. I have not written down the details, but if you take arbitrary element which is invertible in D and arbitrary norm 1 element P, then this formula defines an automorphism. So all automorphisms look like this, and anything like this is an automorphism stabilizing D. So this gives us an embedding of D star modulo center cross with SL1D inside automorphism group. So this is a subgroup of type A1 cross A1. Anyway, I have not written all that. It's not necessary for my calculations. Corollary to this is, if I look at those automorphisms which fix D pointwise, then this part doesn't exist anymore. C is a scalar. So that goes away. It is just norm 1 elements from D. So that group is isomorphic to SL1D. So this is a A1 type simply connected group over K. So that gives us, in fact, recently this was shown by my PhD student and some other independent mathematicians that any A1 type subgroup can be written like this. Anyway, so therefore dimension of this group, which I am denoting by G lower D, this is 3-dimensional group. So this dimension count we will need. So, okay, so far, Shripad?
Yes, yes.
So do connect with me time to time, otherwise it will become a silent movie.
Can you please show the last part of the earlier screen once again?
Yes,
Just
yes,
the
yes.
last corollary.
Yes,
once
yes.
again.
So automorphisms of C which fix D pointwise are norm one elements from D. This is a K rational point computation, but it is valid over any extension. So this is actually algebraic group isomorphism. And dimension of this group therefore is 3 because this is a form for SL2.
Correct.
Okay?
Yes, thanks.
So now we can compute dimension of the automorphism group. Let's move towards that. First, we notice that the whole group of automorphism fixes the identity element. So that gives us, look at this norm restricted to E per. So that's a 7-dimensional non-degenerate quadratic form. And let us denote by H lower bar all those orthogonal, all those elements of SO of N, the norm form, which fix identity element. Note, remember I made this remark that not every element which fixes identity element and is in and leaves N invariant is an automorphism. That's not true, because X goes to X bar satisfies that, and X bar is not that's not an automorphism. So this group is larger than what we are talking about. So look at such this subgroup of SON. Using Witt's extension theorem, you can prove that this is actually an isomorphism. So H lower bar is just SON1. There is nothing deep here. And the isomorphism is just given by, take a G here, map it to G restricted to E per. This is an isomorphism of algebraic groups defined over K. And so why was this important for us? Because we are computing stabilizers here. So stabilizer of identity element in this group has dimension equal to dimension of SON1, which we can compute. So that was the reason. Next step is to prove G is actually connected and dimension 14. So for that, what we do is we work with this variety of spatial 1-1 pairs that I introduced, which just means set of all tuples A comma B, ordered tuples, where norm A is equal to norm B equals 1. A and B are orthogonal to each other and their traces are 0. So such elements exist over algebraic closure, such pairs. So X is non-empty variety defined over K bar, not necessarily over K. So again, see here, we are saying that traces are 0. So that means A and B are in E per.
Manish, can I see the statement of the theorem?
Yeah, just that G lower bar is a
Ajay, you want to prove that this is connected?
Yeah, so we will just use the fact that it acts transitively on this variety and then calculate stabilizers and go modulo that. That's the idea. So what I am doing is now trying to figure out the stabilizer. So here, any element is belonging to E perp actually because of this, right? A and B are in E perp, and then they are orthogonal to each other also. Using that, you can, Witt's extension theorem tells us that there is an isometry fixing E and mapping one spatial pair to the other. So that tells us that H bar acts transitively on X. H bar is something whose dimension we can compute. And now let's look at this pair AB. We saw last time that this, I can write a basis for a quaternion algebra starting from such a pair, namely 1AB AB. So that's a basis. if an element stabilizes, yeah, so what I'm computing stabilizer in, so if some automorphism is fixing a comma b, it will fix that whole one a, so that will belong to perp of this three-dimensional space. Okay, so you can actually give a finer so stabilizer of AB in H lower bar I'm computing now, that is isomorphic to SO of N2, where N2 is the norm form restricted to the perp of this three-dimensional space. So because it's fixing E, A, B, it will map the perp to perp. So that is the isomorphism of this stabilizer of A comma B in H lower bar. H lower bar is not isomorphic. I mean, this should have been in a bracket. Stabilizer of S lower bar, stabilizer S lower bar of A comma B in H bar is SO of N2. So this is a 8 minus 3.
So it's clear, of course, that it is sitting inside SON2. Converse is
Yeah.
also.
Say it again. Yeah, it is
Okay,
sitting.
okay. Yeah, no, saw that it is sitting, the stabilizer sits inside
Yeah,
SON2.
right.
I was just thinking about the converse, but yeah, but that's also
Yeah,
clear.
because
Okay,
N2 is
correct.
just
No,
by
no, I
definition
understand. It is going to
restriction of
stabilize.
this to
N2 is
perp,
this form, so it
so
will
it fixes these three elements.
correct.
Right, so that
No, I
always
understand.
fixes, but anything in, so this is equal in fact, so isomorphism is just restriction gives us the isomorphism. So we have computed stabilizer of AB in H bar is dimension of this is what, 8 minus 3 is 5, so 5 into 4 by 2, and this was 7 into 6 by 2. So the dimension of X is 11. This is what we get out of all this. And as I said, automorphism group is transitive on X and dimension of X is 11. So that tells me the dimension of stabilizer and dimension of, what am I saying? We computed a stabilizer of this pair in automorphism group, that is just G lower bar D, the group of automorphisms which fix D pointwise. That gives me this equation, dimension of X is 11 on one hand, on the other hand, dimension G lower bar minus dimension G lower bar D, which is three-dimensional. So dimension G lower bar is 14 therefore. And so X was obtained as a quotient of SON1. So that tells me X is irreducible. And this is connected. So G lower bar D is SL1D. So that's a connected group. So that tells me G bar is connected also. So I hope this is clear, right? So that we have shown, therefore, G lower bar as a group is connected and has dimension 14. So basically the idea is that it acts on a variety and we are just computing the stabilizer of an element there. And to compute in two ways, we compute the dimension. I'm sorry, I hope I am clear here.
Yes, it's okay for me.
Yeah. If not, people should ask. I will try to give, well, the same argument, but again, maybe.
Anirban has raised a hand.
But I can't see it. Anirban has to ask.
Yeah, so just small question, this last part about the connectedness of G.
Yeah.
Can you please say something about it? I mean, how to conclude it? Is it immediate or?
No. Okay. Immediate meaning, yeah, it is immediate because we computed, see, X has been identified with
Right.
S bar mod S bar.
Right.
So that's all.
Okay. I see.
Right?
Yeah, so that so SON1 is connected implies X is irreducible, and
Yeah.
And then from there we are concluding how we are concluding that G is also connected.
No, so that is using algebraic groups, some algebraic group theory. You have the quotient connected. You want to conclude the top group is connected from there.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So that's all.
Okay.
You must have studied those theorems. That's all, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So this half of the lecture I have covered. Any questions so far?
Manish, can you please again tell how this stabilizer is isomorphic to SON2? Meaning, if you take something in SON2, how do we know it extends to some algebra automorphism?
No, not algebra automorphism. S bar is the stabilizer of AB in H bar. This is stabilizer of AB in H bar. So H bar acts transitively on X. Okay.
Yes.
H bar, remember, is H bar is just this group. Where is H bar? H bar is those guys which fix identity element. That's all.
We are taking it from SO already.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Anirban, have I answered your question or you're confused?
It is more or less clear. I'll just have to.
No, it should not be less. You should clear it yourself. I will leave it here.
Yes. Sure.
Not much task left for you. Okay, so let me go to the next lecture. If you have questions, please ask me. I'll go back. So this is the remaining part. So we proved G is connected of dimension 14. We want to now look at what is rank of G. Of course, we have to prove lots of things, but rank of G lower bar. So for that, what we do is we write the octonion over over K. We see it as double of. So over over K, D becomes a 2 by 2 matrix algebra. So I can think of is equal to M2K by conjugating by suitable automorphism. I can assume DK is actually equal to M2K.
So Manish, why you have talked about the dimension of G also? How did you conclude that it's 14?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you?
You said dimension of G is 14.
Yeah.
G is the full automorphism group of octonion algebra, right?
Yeah. So let me. I have to share again. Is it Shripal or how do I get back?
No. It is. If you have, So go to the above thing. Yes.
Has it come? Huh.
Yeah. Oh. I think he just wants to know why you computed the dimension.
Why I computed?
How did you compute?
Oh, so computation is just here. So where is the dimension computation? Yeah. So here. So H lower bar acts on X transitively, and S bar is the stabilizer. Achha. And H lower bar is SON1, S lower bar is SON2. So the dimension is coming from here, right? It's a transitive action, so it's a homogeneous space. I can compute the dimension by this. Pralay?
Yeah.
And once that is done, we'll look at it from other point of view, where we know that G lower.
The question is I'm like little confused because it's not just preserving quadratic form; it is preserving the algebra structure.
No. So we will. It doesn't matter as long as X is equal to this. We know dimension of X is 11. And now look at the algebra action on the variety X. I mean,
but you are using Witt's theorem and so on everywhere, right? So Witt's
theorem so last time
extension of isometry in the sense of quadratic form, not in the sense of. I mean, there is another component.
You are confusing issues. Pralay, I am not using any theorem here. First of all, this is clear or not?
One theorem that you use is that if you look at SON2, and you can extend it to SON.
Yes,
N1.
by fixing
that
these three elements.
See, from SON2, if you have an element, you can extend it to SON.
You can think of SON2 as isometries of the whole space by fixing these three elements.
No, but isometries need not preserve the algebra structure. Right?
But I am not talking of algebra structure here, na Pralay. This is just quadratic form computation.
Achha.
H bar is of the SO group.
Yeah.
But
So there are two,
you're
three groups. See,
but
if you go to the earlier slide, na, so
Yeah. H
G
lower
lower
bar,
bar is his group that
just
he's working with. If you
just
go little
SON
up,
elements.
H bar is just a subgroup in is just a
SON.
subgroup of SON.
And that
It has
is, we
nothing
have
to do
shown
with G
isomorphic
bar
to
a
SON1.
priori.
no, but I mean, maybe it is somewhere involved because I see that your group is automorphism of CK.
Yeah. It will come, but by looking at a different action. Right now, I'm just bothered about this action. H lower bar acts on X transitively, and we are trying.
Anyway, so yeah, please go ahead. I probably missed some points.
Ah. So here also, I'm looking at stabilizer of this pair S lower bar is the notation for that inside H bar only, and that we showed is SON2. Because of here I am using Witt's extension theorem. So that on one hand gives me dimension of X is 11. On the other hand, we will use now transitivity of automorphism group on X that we showed last time. Any two pairs for a fixed lambda and mu are joined by an automorphism that we saw last time. There one uses Witt's extension theorem and so on, but that requires some work. So using that, we know G bar acts transitively here. And then the stabilizer in this case is G lower bar D. Those guys which fix D point-wise. Where D is the quaternion algebra we started with, which has this as basis over K bar. And then we have this equation. So here we are using automorphism structure. I hope this is clear. Okay, so next thing is to compute a rank. So what we do is we are anyway over algebraic closure. So there I can, the quaternion algebra we started with over the algebraic closure is just 2 by 2 matrices, and up to conjugation by a single automorphism allows me to write this equal to this, and Ck is dk plus dk times A. This kind of decomposition we have seen where I can choose A to have determinant 1. And then the norm form is just looks like this: determinant X minus determinant Y. So we can write down explicitly a maximal torus here as follows. Sorry. Yeah. So define for any lambda. So you fix lambda and mu two scalars. For that, you define, first you look at this diagonal matrix for any lambda, look at the matrix lambda inverse diagonal matrix, which lives in dk. So I just define, and similarly I have for mu also, I'll have mu inverse. So we define T lambda mu to be the conjugation by T lambda in the first summand, and the second summand is T mu y T lambda inverse times A. So this is this is an automorphism by what we saw before. So because you see here, you can see why this is an automorphism, right? These are all normal elements.
So what is T lambda mu? I mean, this is some non-zero.
Yeah, T lambda mu is just notation for this automorphism. It's conjugating X by T lambda inverse, and here it is T mu y T lambda inverse. So if you wish, you can think of this, you can put a T lambda here if it satisfies your curiosity, and then multiply by T lambda inverse to T mu. So that will be the norm one element that we have seen before. So this is that kind of automorphism. Okay? Pralay, is that okay?
And so what is T lambda and what is T mu?
T lambda is a matrix like this.
Oh, I see.
And T mu is also a matrix like this. So these are all diagonal matrices of determinant 1. Okay. And I'm just defining this automorphism.
No, but what do you mean? Decay is some quaternion algebra. You're taking an isomorphism to M2K?
Yeah. So we are over algebraic closure. So dk I can assume is equal to m2k. Okay. Over algebraic closure, quaternion splits to give you 2 by 2 matrices. So I am assuming that they are equal. So this can be done.
No, why equal? I mean, it is isomorphic.
Yes, it is isomorphism, but I'm using some theory here. So any isomorphism extends to an automorphism of C, and that I can conjugate by that and assume that actually it's C.
But that isomorphism, you can choose any isomorphism or over some k isomorphism or something like that?
Over capital K.
Over small k or capital K?
Capital K. I am writing.
But then your K structure will be.
No, I am not bothered about K structure. I just want to compute rank.
Acha.
I just want to calculate the rank. So I just want to write down a torus over K bar. So that torus is written here. So it looks.
So
like,
you are choosing some isomorphism to M2K.
Yeah, just choose some isomorphism, extend it to an automorphism of CK, and conjugate by that to assume these are equal. So that's not important. Once you have that, then you are able to write down this description. You can just change your whole CK by just writing M2K, direct sum M2K. So I'm just fixing an isomorphism of CK with M2 direct sum M2K, and then doing all this. So that will involve some conjugacy and so on, which I am sweeping under the carpet.
And T mu, what is T mu?
T mu will be mu inverse again, like this. So we saw this automorphism before. So this is
right.
No, but what is missing here is, so you can make it look like what I described before by putting a T lambda here and multiply by T lambda inverse, and that T mu T lambda inverse will be the norm one element. So this is an automorphism of that type, okay? So collect all these guys. We claim that this is a torus in G lower bar of dimension 2. Not just that, we will prove that its centralizer is itself. So I hope this is okay, no? This expression is okay, Shripad?
Yes.
So I want to show the dimension is 2. So it is just done by writing it down explicitly in terms of how elements act on a basis. So you write down a basis of CK by writing a basis of the first summand these elementary matrices Ij, 0, the second summand as 0, Eij. Okay. So this is a basis, collective basis for CK. And with respect to this basis, actually we did computation of those root spaces for SL2 or whatever. There, using the same kind of calculations, you can see that T lambda mu will have a diagonal matrix. So you're ordering the basis as E110, E120, E210, E220, and then you take up the 0, E11, 0, E12, and so on. So that is the ordering of the basis. With respect to that, you will get a matrix of T lambda mu looks like this. So that shows that T is a two-dimensional torus. Right? And now, so I hope this is okay. If it is not, please ask me. So this is a two-dimensional torus, follows from here. And because I will just fix one basis and all the matrices look like this now. So this is a two-dimensional torus. I parameterize by lambda and mu. So if I choose mu not, so I'm trying to prove now centralizer of this torus is itself. So that will show maximality. So for that, what I do is you choose mu not equal to 1 and lambda equal to 1. So I'm looking at an element of the type T1 mu. So T1 mu will fix the first summand pointwise, right? So that will tell me that any element, if I pick in the centralizer of the torus T, it will also commute with T1 mu, and therefore it will leave decay stable, because these are the fixed points of T1 mu. So they will be mapped to themselves by any centralizer element. This is just basic linear algebra. So any centralizer element of capital T maps decay to decay, because any such centralizer element must also commute with T1 mu, and T1 mu fixed points are decay, because I've chosen mu not equal to 1. So remember what T1, how this acts. T1 mu will fix, so it will map x plus ya to x plus T mu y, that's all. So fixed points of this will be precisely the first factor. Second factors will not be fixed. So that says that any centralizer element maps decay to decay. And that tells me already that it looks like this. Any centralizer element therefore must look like C x plus ya goes to Cx C inverse plus blah blah blah. And now you use the fact that it commutes with those guys T lambda mu's which stabilize the first factor, that will tell us that this T actually is of the form T alpha beta for scalars alpha and beta. So anyway, the crux of the matter is that centralizer of this torus is itself. So these are some explicit computations, simple calculations, which one can do by hand and prove that centralizer of the torus T is itself. That shows that it's a maximal torus in G lower bar. And its rank is 2.
So the T lambda mu that you had will
Yeah.
not, it fixes, I mean
So T lambda mu acts like this,
correct.
right?
Decay, on decay it is actually identity, no?
No. T1 mu will be identity on decay.
1 mu. T1 mu is identity on decay, no?
Correct. Therefore, anything that commutes with T1 mu will map decay to itself.
Correct.
Because this is the full fixed points of this automorphism. It fixes nothing more. It fixes exactly decay. So if I had some T which commutes with this, and you pick a fixed point, say X, and look at T times T1 mu applied to X. That is same as T1 mu applied to Tx. So that tells me that Tx is fixed by T1 mu. So therefore Tx maps, Tx belongs to decay. So decay is stabilized by T. Right?
Correct.
Preeti, is that okay?
Yes, correct.
Proof by intimidation.
True.
Yeah, but it's a simple-minded fact, because these are the
No, I
full
was
fixed
thinking
points
just
of
about
this.
the converse, that
Yeah. Converse
next
of?
page that you had, no, the next slide. I was just trying to be clever and fix in class if possible. That
This one.
yeah. But
So what we get from here is T must look like this. Okay? This much is clear?
correct. This much is clear.
Okay, good. Now, it commutes with all elements of the torus. So it commutes with all these T lambda mu's. Okay? So remember T lambda mu here in the first summand acts as conjugation by T lambda, that diagonal matrix lambda inverse. So it tells me that C, the inner conjugation by C commutes with all those T lambdas.
Correct.
Such considerations, you will have to do some work. It's not obvious here.
Correct.
By the similar argument, I'm saying it leaves eigenspaces of all T lambda mu's. And finally, using that, you can write down explicitly what those are, and then that allows you this. I'm not writing the details. They are messy details, so obviously I'm not writing them down. Already, I feel people want to throw tomatoes at me, but
No, this
Sorry, could I ask a?
yeah. Sure.
So, what is the subgroup generated by all the elements associated to the C and the P?
C and P.
Yeah. So the element that you have written on the top of the page, Cx C inverse plus P times C by C inverse A.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. So what is the subgroup generated by those?
Subgroup generated by what?
The elements of this form as C and
You mean
vary.
those automorphisms?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is subgroup D. So D is the quaternion. Then, as an algebraic group, it is D star mod. So P, the projective linear group of D star crossed with SL1D, and there may be some intersection. For example, I can have P equal to 1. Okay, suppose P is 1.
Yeah.
Then it is D star cross D star, right?
Mm-hmm.
Modulo
No, D star.
D star mod center cross D
yeah.
star mod center. And this P is independent. So it is like D star mod center cross SL1D.
So can we summarize your argument as saying that the centralizer of T is contained in D star cross SL1D, and by dimension considerations, T has to be a maximal torus of D star cross SL1D, something of that sort?
It is no, not really. Yeah, once we prove it stabilizes D, then exactly, you're right, correct. Once we prove, so till here, exactly, once you conclude this, I already noted that this subgroup is of type A1 cross A1, and this is a torus there. Yeah, so it already follows from there. You're right. There is a little tricky thing here. So the thing is that this is not quite commuting with this. So if I take the norm one action first and then apply the conjugation action, or first apply the conjugation action, then take the norm one action, it's not commuting there. So little bit tricky there, I think. In any case, whatever way you argue, the point is that this is a maximal torus. You convince yourself in one way or the other. This is a torus of dimension 2 in the automorphism group, which is maximal. So rank is 2. So the next step, allow me to go to the next step, which just says that this group has trivial center. So this follows more or less exactly along the similar lines as before. If T is in the center, then T belongs to the centralizer of the torus. So it must be, anyway, T lies in the torus. So it is T lambda mu for some lambda mu. And then again, it must leave dk invariant and commutes with all inner automorphisms of M2K. So that tells us lambda must be lambda inverse and T restricted to this is identity. But here is the tricky part. This holds true for all quaternion subalgebras D contained in C, because D was arbitrarily chosen. And this fact is little quadratic form theory, which says that any element of the octonian algebra can be embedded inside a quaternion subalgebra. To see this, you can argue in 2 steps. One is look at that element depending on its norm is 0 or non-zero. If it is 0, you can embed it inside a hyperbolic space in quadratic form theory. Using quadratic forms, you can do that because once the element has norm 0, that means the whole octonian norm is hyperbolic. So that allows me to embed it inside a hyperbolic plane. And then it generates basically a matrix algebra. So that is your quaternion subalgebra there in that case. If the norm is non-zero, it is either a scalar or it generates a quadratic sub field. So in that case also by doubling it follows. So this is quite correct. So it is therefore because here we have shown T restricted to dk's identity where D was arbitrary, that shows that T is identity on C itself because anything embeds in some quaternion algebra. So center is trivial. Okay. Next corollary is that the group is reductive and the root system has 12 elements. So that is trivial. Root system has 12 elements already follows by rank computation and dimension computation. we have to just show this is a reductive group. This is done using the following interesting lemma, which I actually used in. This is a very useful thing to know. Suppose I have a finite dimensional vector space and I have a non-trivial connected subgroup of GLV. And suppose it acts irreducibly on V, then actually G lower bar is reductive. So this is a simple result, but quite useful. The proof is you look at the unipotent radical of G lower bar, then it fixes some point in V because it's unipotent. Let's call the fixed points as V naught. So V naught is non-zero. Okay. So pick V in V naught and take G in G lower bar. Then the point is G acted on V is also fixed by this because this is a normal subgroup. So this calculation tells you that G acted on V also is fixed by U, but V is irreducible, and this is a G stable subspace. So that tells me that U bar must be trivial. This is because V naught was non-zero. So this proves that the group is reductive. I think this is quite a. I like this lemma somehow. It's very funny lemma. And then this is another useful. We will apply the lemma to this after this theorem is relevant to the lemma proved just now. So suppose I take a composition algebra work, any of those 1, 2, 4, or 8 dimensional. Then if I want to look at the full algebra C tensor K, and I want to compute invariant subspaces for odd CK, then the answer is there are only 2 of them. Of course, assuming non-zero. The line generated by the identity element, the scalars I mean, or the trace zero elements. These are the only 2 subspaces which are invariant. In particular, this tells me that the trace zero elements form an irreducible subspace, irreducible representation of the group, automorphism group. So this is obvious when dimension C is less than equal to 2, because dimension C is 1 is the field case. The second 2-dimension case is just done by hand. There's nothing there. Next, let's look at the case of quaternions. So here again, one has to do some explicit linear algebraic computations because I am assuming invariant subspaces. Okay, so that means they have to be invariant under the whole automorphism group. So using, look at matrices in M2K which have distinct eigenvalues so that they are available to you, and such matrices we have used to write down automorphisms. So using that, we can settle the case of quaternions. I mean, quaternions is just M2K for us. I want to just look at invariant subspaces here under the whole automorphism group. So for that, we use particular matrices which have distinct eigenvalues and conclude the result from there. So this is really an exercise, 2 by 2 matrix case. Octonian case is what I will do. I can do this if people want. We can do this in tutorial. This is really an exercise. As I said, the point is that those invariant subspaces have to be invariant under all automorphisms, and automorphisms of M2K are given by just conjugation by matrices. So any such subspace here has to be invariant under conjugation by all matrices. So that will tell you if using specific matrices, you will be able to rule out lots of possibilities. So it's a nice exercise for anybody wanting to play with the 2 by 2 matrix case. Let's look at the octonian case. We will use the quaternion case to settle this as follows. Suppose I have an invariant subspace of the octonian algebra under the full automorphism group. Okay. For that, what we do is you take an quaternion subalgebra of CK. And by one result I mentioned, we can extend automorphisms of any composition subalgebra to automorphism of the whole algebra. That tells me that this intersection of V with Q will be invariant under automorphisms of Q. And by what we know for quaternion case, this must be therefore 0, either the one-dimensional space KE or E perp intersection Q or Q itself. So there are these possibilities. Okay. And again, now we are done. So the point is, now we use one non-trivial theorem here. You look at the set of all quaternion subalgebras of CK. That set is, the automorphism group acts transitively on that set. Given any two, because we are all algebraically closed fields, any quaternion is actually a matrix algebra. So any two quaternion subalgebras here will be isomorphic, and that isomorphism can be extended to an automorphism. That tells me that automorphism group acts transitively on the set of quaternion subalgebras. Using that, it will say that if this is happening to one quaternion subalgebra, this will happen to all quaternion subalgebras. Similarly, if this is KE for one quaternion algebra, it will be so for all quaternion subalgebras. Similarly, these possibilities. Using that.
But Manish, you are doing over K, I mean, over algebraic
K
closed
bar.
field, right?
K
bar,
bar.
everything.
K bar.
So those results also hold that.
No, not over K. Because
then I mean, you are sometime taking over K, sometime taking.
No. I am doing computations over K bar. If you notice, these are computations over K bar. See, eigenvalues. I mean, I don't have eigenspaces, eigenvalues, etc. over K. These are over K bar. Computations I have done over K bar. Okay. These are all over K bar. Yeah, so this holds for any quaternion subalgebra, and this acts transitively on the set of quaternion subalgebras. Also, we notice that every element belongs to some quaternion subalgebra. That will tell us that this intersection, in fact, I mean, we intersected with, so basically the result follows from here. The only invariant subspace must be, I mean, 0 or KE or E perp or the whole octonian algebra. This follows from here. So the point is, the trace 0 part of the composition algebra is an irreducible faithful representation for the automorphism group. In particular, for the octonian case, you get an irreducible representation on the 7-dimensional space, and that is faithful because identity is fixed by the whole automorphism group. This is the smallest non-trivial representation of the automorphism group. And that lemma now applies to give us that G bar is reductive. Finally, we are able to conclude that this group has type G2 as follows. So we have connected reductive group of rank 2 of dimension 14, and the roots, there are 12 roots, and center is trivial. Center is trivial. This tells me G bar is semi-simple, first of all. And now we have rank is 2, so the root system has rank 2. And if you look at rank 2 root systems, the only one which is reducible is A1 cross A1. But that has only 4 roots, so that is ruled out. That shows phi G must be irreducible, and the group must be simple, therefore. And then you just look at the irreducible root systems, that pins it down to type G2. So this is roughly the proof with something details skipped. Any questions? So this proof, I don't know this. I mean, one person to attribute, I don't know, but it may be due to Chevalier, Cartan, several people. But the proof is quite neat, I think. Okay, so I pause here. If any questions you want to ask.
Manish, could you just orally recall the main steps?
Yes. So main steps of right. The whole so far whatever I did was to prove that the automorphism group has rank 2. It is connected simple of type G2. So for proving it is rank 2, we exhibited explicitly a rank 2 maximal torus. Maximality was proved by showing centralizer of the torus is itself. And this calculation is basic calculation. I skipped the details. And then we proved the center is trivial. Center is trivial allows us immediately to conclude the group is semi-simple. Because, right? And
Right. Yes. It is a reductive group and
Yeah.
trivial center. Yeah.
And no, reductivity we proved here. So,
So triviality will be used after proving reductivity.
yeah, I think I should first have shown this. One should have but reductivity follows using this. So I have ordered results wrongly, perhaps. Yeah, using this I get reductivity. Using that result, I get reductivity. Yeah, so please order the results correctly. So first you prove reductivity and then center is trivial. So the group is semi-simple from there. And then once we have dimension is 14, the group is semi-simple of rank 2. You look at the root systems of rank 2 and we counted the number of roots is 12. Here the number of roots is 4. So this cannot be therefore reducible. So the root system is irreducible, therefore the group is simple. So this was the proof. And then you look at again the list of root systems, the number of roots pins it down to type G2. Okay? Yeah, I think today's lecture, today's lecture is a little bit heavy going. Maybe this will allow you to relax a bit, the first paragraph at least. So I have not yet completed. So we have shown that automorphisms of an octonian algebra is a group of type G2. That's what we have shown. We have not yet shown that any group of type G2 is automorphism group of some octonian algebra. To do that, you look at this fact. G2 is the group of automorphisms of the split octonian, and that again I will written equal here, but there is a nice isomorphism, I guess. That is same as automorphism of the group G2 itself. And then we have this correspondence H1 of automorphisms of the split octonian with isomorphism classes of octonians over K, which is also isomorphism classes of K forms of G2. Now, suppose I want to prove that any K form of G2 is automorphism of some octonian. So I start with such a group. So that kind of group is obtained by twisting the Galois action on the split G2 by a cocycle. And that action can be carried out here by that isomorphism to twist the action on the automorphism group of the split octonian, and that fixed points of that action will give us the group here, and we are looking at fixed points of an automorphism group. So that will give me an automorphism group of something fixed by the Galois action, and that is the octonian algebra we are looking at. So any group of type G2 is automorphism of some octonion algebra. This is roughly the idea. I hope this is okay, right, Shripal? There is some work to be done here.
Yes.
I have just shown automorphisms are of type G2. I am talking about the converse. So that is more or less an exercise now. Okay, so my problem is I don't really have to choose something to go more into or something to go less into. So that is where I may make some of you unhappy. Okay, so let's come to more or less last but one slide of this lecture. So I want to move to the remaining next three groups, F4, E6 and E7. But before that, I introduce some new algebra to you. So we'll write down an algebra over K now for an arbitrary field K, whose full group of automorphism will give us the split group of type F4. And using that, we can write down all K forms of F4. So let's see how to, in this, we will continue to assume characteristic is avoiding 2 and 3. And let's fix composition algebra, C comma small n now. And suppose x goes to x bar is its canonical involution. Fix three scalars, gamma 1, gamma 2, gamma 3. And consider the involution on the 3 by 3 matrix ring with entries in C, which is a matrix X is mapped to gamma inverse X bar transpose gamma. Gamma is the diagonal matrix gamma 1, gamma 2, gamma 3. This is an involution on the matrix ring. This is a very strange ring, highly non-associative, unless C is one or two dimension. Well, 1, 2 or 4 dimension. So you have an involution there. What we do is look at Hermitian matrices with respect to that involution. So I am looking at those 3 by 3 matrices which are fixed by that involution. Once you do the calculation, then any such Hermitian matrix looks like this. So we are not, I'm sorry, we're not, where did that go? Yeah. So right now I don't need this explicit expression, but basically there are three coordinates. One is the scalar part. The diagonals are scalar matrices, scalars in the base field. This C3, C2 and C1 are entries in the composition algebra. And then there are these scalars coming up because of the condition. So you will get the shape of the matrix looks like this. On this space of Hermitian matrices, we define a product, which is, if I denote the usual matrix product by x dot y, then I define the new product xy to be x dot y plus y dot x divided by 2. So though I have assumed characteristic is different from 2 because the product looks simpler here, in general, there is a way to define these ideas, but I'm not going into that. So there is this product. So this defines an algebra structure, which makes this.
How is the product defined?
Yeah, it is this average of x dot y, where x dot y is the usual matrix product. So because of this, automatically you have xy equal to yx. So this is a commutative but non-associative K algebra, and identity matrix is the identity of this multiplication on the algebra. And the dimension, as you can see, is 3 times dimension of C plus 3. So it will be dimension of C if it is, for example, 1, so base field, then it is 6 dimensional. If it is quadratic extension, then it's 9 dimensional. If it is quaternion, then it's 15 dimensional. If it is octonion, you get 27 dimensional. So those algebras I will come to maybe next time. right now I just want to introduce to you the notion of trace and norm on the algebra. So trace is defined as usual. Trace of a matrix there on a Hermitian matrix is sum of the diagonal entries. And that gives us a quadratic form because this is a linear form. So I just look at x comma y goes to trace of xy, then that's a bilinear form, and that gives me this quadratic form, half trace x square. And when you expand it out, this is how it looks like. So right now we are not going to use any of these ideas in this lecture, but let me just introduce these quantities to you. This bilinear form, trace bilinear form, is actually associative in the sense it satisfies this identity. And then there is a cubic form n on this defined using this formula. This is a very strange looking expression, but there is some symmetry about it. And this is really the determinant of that Hermitian matrix taken carefully. That will lead you to this expression. And there is a then Cayley-Hamilton like equation that every matrix satisfies, which is x cube minus trace x. This is the trace times x square, and then there is a sort of quadratic form associated times x minus this is the determinant x. Yeah, so this is more or less what I wanted to say today. I will continue from here next time. Maybe these ideas are a little heavy right now, but
So Manish, you avoid 3 and 2 because of the averaging and this 3 here, is it?
yes, exactly. But the point is that those scalars are not important really, because finally we are going to look at similarity groups. So groups which preserve these objects up to scalar factors. So then the scalars can be gotten rid of by some algebraic machinery, and one can make sense of these expressions in general characteristics also. Of course, some modification has to be done, but one has a way about it. I'm avoiding that right now. Yeah, so this is roughly this lecture was just this much. Next time, what I will do is I will not go into details, too many details, but idea has already been introduced in the case of G2. The idea is to find a suitable variety on which the group or some certain subgroup acts transitively that allows you to compute dimension and various other things. And we will see, I will just try to sketch the proof to you, how one obtains all groups of type F4 and certain groups of type E6 and E7 from this. Okay, so this is all, Shripad, for today.
Thank you, Manish. We
So-
will now take questions.
Yeah. I am sorry, I think today has been a bit heavy. So shall I unshare this or let it be?
Let it be. Let's see if somebody
Yeah.
has a question. Yeah.
So I don't have a question on today's topic. I guess nobody else has, nobody has spoken. So what do you plan to cover next time? Jordan algebra?
Yeah, so no. I think I am sensing that this is not going in the way I liked, because the questions have reduced in number drastically.
Okay, at least from my side, I am completely happy with the talk. Just to give some feedback, at least from my side, I'm extremely happy with this talk. I had no questions because I more or less followed the.
Okay, good. So what I planned to do initially is I would have proved completely, but I will not do that now completely. I wanted to show the automorphism group of this. So you see, I have taken a general composition algebra here. So there are several things that can be done with this general object. So these algebras that we have obtained, will allow us to write down this Tits magic square, or sometimes called Freudenthal-Tits magic square. Actually, Freudenthal also is independently arrived at that. That actually gives us all various forms of all types of exceptional Lie algebras. And once you have exceptional Lie algebras, then getting groups are just taking automorphisms of those and so on, connected components and so on. So I was planning to go there. So let me see. So next lecture I will spend on this what I started with. I will write down these 3 types. Certain forms, these all forms I wanted to tell you how they look like, and then say something about E6 and E7. And then I plan to go to little remarks on isotropic groups in general, how they look like, and maybe something like that. I don't know. I have to decide.
Okay.
But I'll be happy if I have feedback and what people would like me to do.
So the composition algebras may have some nice splitting fields and so on.
Right. So those are well understood. They are precisely the subfields inside the composition algebra, quadratic subfields.
Okay. True.
Yeah, they are any quadratic subfield splits it, and any field extension which splits it. Of course, you don't want to arbitrarily large subfields. Fields are not needed. Any quadratic field extension which splits it is actually contained in that, up to isomorphism. Yeah, so these kind of things are useful very much while working with these objects.
So what does it mean to say composition algebra splits?
It just means it becomes basically it acquires a zero divisor, or the norm quadratic form acquires a non-trivial zero, because then the norm becomes completely hyperbolic over that extension. So the norm splits and the algebra becomes a matrix algebra, or whatever, the split composition algebra of that dimension.
Okay.
So Shripal, should I
Composition
unshare
algebra
this?
will split over a field extension, then it will have a split torus, is it?
Say it again.
If the composition algebra splits over a field extension,
Yeah.
then it will have a split torus, is it?
Yeah. The automorphism group will have will be split there. Correct. So it will have a split torus over that extension.
Yes, I think you can unshare.
Yeah. Stop sharing. Good. I would have liked to share, but anyway. Yeah, I don't know. These things are a bit murky.
It's very difficult to get proper written notes like this on these topics, especially on exceptional groups. Everybody is very shy, So I'm happy these lectures are running actually.
No, but there are some ugly books that have been written down, and I am just taking things from those books. So one is this Jacobson has a book on exceptional Lie algebra that has lots of material and details of things. Then there is this book of involutions, which has some last chapters on D4 and other
Actually,
groups.
that's where I looked at it. Yeah.
Yeah, that has it, and then I mentioned Springer's book on octonions and so on. Springer has another book called Jordan Algebras and Algebraic Groups. And then there is this book which I have it with me right now. It's called Lectures in Geometry by Postnikov. So
Yes,
these are 5 volumes of beautiful books, which I bought on Roads of Bombay. It has some material on in the end on exceptional groups.
Especially the product and so on is written there.
Which
no?
volume? Which volume?
Product of
This
group
is volume 5. lectures in geometry, volume 5, semester 5, sorry. It's called Lie groups and Lie algebras. Yeah, this book is very nice and very friendly. It has a lot of calculations done, but only over real. So this is not going to do the algebraic group aspects, but Lie group, theoretically, one should be happy. So, for example, if you want to show automorphisms of the octonion division algebra over reals is compact G2, this book does it. That's much easier than doing the algebraic theory. Why don't people show themselves? Now there are not so many participants. How many are there? Quite a bit actually, still around. Shripal, sorry. So I started talking without being heard.
That's okay.
This is the problem, no? The whole screen is like that. I didn't even get a message saying something is wrong. Hi Riddhi.
Hey, how are you?
हाँ ठीक है, आप कैसे हैं? How are you?
चल रहा है. I'm out of my depth here.
हाँ.
Yeah. I'll have to listen to the whole lecture again.
No, this is, I don't know. I have to learn to speak slowly.
No, you are an excellent teacher.
No, this problem
My
is
background is lacking.
when you're teaching online, you don't hear any noises. So in class, you see some people chatting with each other or not listening to you. Then you look at their faces, you make out something is not going right. But here, there's nothing like that. So you just become a film actor.
Yeah, only when you take exam, then you will know what we understood.
Are you suggesting I should take an exam?
No,